Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco, Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. And it's just Marco here once again to review a new movie. Just came out yesterday, or it said it came out in September, but I never saw anything about it until this month, December. So that movie is Finestkind. I'm going to give a quick, non-spoiler review, because in my reviews, I really like to go in-depth and give spoilers. I like to go through and, discuss all the things I liked and didn't like, and bad quotes and bad things and everything, or maybe good things, rarely. So I'm going to get through. So first off, I could simply summarize this movie as, those movies that you go to see on Father's Day with your father, those types of movies? That's what this movie is to a T. I mean, it's all about, father-son relationships and about all these other things, too, I guess. Because that's another thing. This movie, besides being a really dreary, dull Father's Day movie, it's one of those movies where you feel like there were, 2 or 3 movie plots that they, shoved into one. So, it really did not feel like a cohesive movie. It was so all over the place. I really didn't like that they sucked all the color out of the movie. So it's a pretty ugly movie, except for a couple of shots. There's this one shot of Jenna Overrated Ortega, and and honestly, I do kind of like her now, especially after seeing her in interviews. But I just want to call her that for comedic effect, and so I don't really think she's overrated, or maybe I do. I don't know. No, I don't think so. I'm trying to think of who actually is overrated. Probably Margot Robbie. She can't act. So anyways, there was one shot of Jenna and her character, and she had this orange glow on her, and that looked really good. But other than that, this movie was really ugly, and it's sad because they had all these great shots, fishing shots, documentary style shots, but they were all ruined because the editor sucked the color out of it so that it would look like a modern movie. And it just doesn't look like a modern movie. It looks like a lifeless, a drama type thing. You know how nowadays, every drama has the same color grading in the movie? Your Honor had the same color grading where everything is just so lifeless and dull because it's supposed to make it look a little more hardcore, and I hate it when they do that nowadays. It's just so ugly and bad looking, and that's what they did to this movie, and it's why do you do that? You just make the movie look really ugly and bad. I'm sick of movies looking like this. There was this one Twitter post. Maybe I can find it, because I think it might be one of the greatest Twitter posts in human history, if that's even possible. There's this guy or girl, I can't remember, and they said, I miss the days when, everything had this, orangey, yellowy, colorful look to it, and they posted all these pictures of Smallville, and I was yeah, I know. Everything used to be so colorful in movies and TV, and nowadays everything looks so ugly and gross and colorless and bad, and just everything looks like something that is bad. Why do they make movies look so bad? Why can't they make movies look good? Even the worst movies of the 80s and the 70s looked good because they had color in the footage. They didn't suck out the color on purpose. They'd never do something stupid like that. So, as I said, this movie, Tommy Lee Jones, he's hardly in it. He's one of the only good things about it. The main character, he's really bad. Like, he's really boring and dull. He's just another white bread, boring character guy. You know, maybe he's been good in something else, but, like, I really couldn't stand him, honestly. Like, he was just so not interesting and not charismatic at all. He did not have anything about him that screamed leading man. You know, if you watch a movie with Jimmy Stewart, you think that's a leading man. But when you watch a movie like this with this guy, you think, ew. Like, this, it's just not very good. Maybe it's just the character, but, like, I couldn't stand him. And then his brother, played by Ben Foster, you know, that guy's a really good actor, but this character, did not really like him very much either. He was pretty stupid, and, you know, the movie was very predictable, and it was very overly long in terms of, like, I wondered when this movie was going to end, because it kept on taking all these twists and turns instead of, like, just sticking to one story and one plot and one idea. And so it kept on transforming into something different. And so by the end of the movie, I was just like, when is this going to end? Like, it just kept going on and on and on and on. They had one ending, and then they had another ending, and then they had another ending, and then they had another one, and then they had another one. I was like, end, now. I want to go home, even though I'm already at home. Like, seriously. End. That's what I was doing. So in general, and I guess I should also say Jenna, she was fine, but her character was trash. She hardly had anything the whole movie to do. Her character was like kind of a write-off. Like, I don't even think she needed to be in this movie, quite frankly. The character. Maybe if they had committed to one of the ideas, though, she could have been good in it. But, like, her character was really, really lame. I mean, she could have been something good in a better script. So, yeah. This movie, it's a Father's Day movie for sure. It is very reminiscent of Napoleon. Like, seriously, if you put on Napoleon, which sucked, you know what, and then you put on this movie, you can have a little Father's Day double feature, and you can feel exactly like how you feel on Father's Day when you see these bad movies that are dull and only your father will like them. Like, you know, there was this funny movie also that came out in the summer, and I can't remember, it was another fishing movie too. What was that movie? Fishing movie 2023. I'm looking that up right now. 2023. What was that movie? Because, there's multiple ones. Is fishing movies like a genre? I really hate fishing movies, by the way. Like, come on, where are they? Fishing movies. What's that one that came out? The one about the PTSD shit. Soldier, PTSD, come on. Soldiers. PTSD. Google search. Yeah. There it is. Mending the line. You just look at this movie's poster, and it just screams like old people movie. It's just like, oh my god, like this is a Father's Day movie as well. And it's funny because on Father's Day, somebody wanted to see that movie, and I looked at the poster and I was like, I bet, because that's exactly the type of movie that this is, and it even looks the same too. Like, it looks exactly the same as, what was this movie called? Oh yeah, Finestkind. They only said that word about 1,000 fucking times. And they look exactly the same. Like, they both look like they have the same color grading because they look so ugly and dull. Like, you know, the same emo editor edited it before he considered committing suicide because he's so depressed that he sucks the color out of everything. Does this also have Tommy Lee Jones? Who's this guy? It's another movie. You got this old actor. He can barely walk anymore. And he's just like walking around, mumbling his lines. And he's like, I'm still here. I can still act. Oh, it's Brian Cox, the best Hannibal. And, it's got Wes Studi in it. That's pretty good. He's a good actor. But I thought that movie looked okay. Honestly, that movie looks a little bit better. Oh, no. Actually, it's the same length. 2 hours and something minutes. Fuck that. I'm not watching that. But it looks like it's more about fishing, though. That's what looks good about it. Yeah, I guess I'm just not a fan of fishing movies. Like, I really love fishing, and I really love that type of thing, but I guess fishing movies suck. Like, there was this one movie that I got from Walmart a long time ago, or did I get it from Walmart? I got it from some bargain bin somewhere. That's where Finestkind is going to end up. It's going to end up in the bargain bin at the local Walmart. And it was like a movie with Miley Cyrus's father, and then the ice cream man guy, Clint Howard, and that movie sucked. That's one of the worst movies I've ever fucking seen. It was so bad, and like I can't stand these boring, dull fishing movies. And then this movie turns into like a crime movie. And then it's also, like, trying to be, like, a family drama. And it's like, pick a lane, movie. Like, just do one thing and do it good. Don't do 10 things and do them all bad or half-assed. So my food review, before we get into the spoilers. My food review would be the molasses cake that I made earlier this year. Earlier this year, for Jennifer Jones's birthday, I made her molasses cake, and you're supposed to make a molasses icing. Well, I thought that I would do the smart thing by making a cream cheese frosting, and that would really taste a lot better with the molasses cake, and then I would still put the molasses icing on the inside. But it ended up actually backfiring, and it did not really work out very well. The molasses cake was very, very bitter. You know, I had never had molasses before, and then you had the cream cheese frosting, and they just did not work together at all. The molasses icing was actually the best part of the whole cake, ironically, because, you know, we threw it all away, except for the stuff that we used in the middle. So I should have just used the molasses icing for the whole cake. And that's what I feel like for this movie, is that, like, they should have just went with one story, which honestly it still wouldn't have been that good anyways, because it was very predictable and dull. And do that. But instead you tried to do this multi-story movie, and it is an epic fail. I mean, it's not one of the worst movies I've seen all year. It's like around in the middle. I mean, it was a lot better than Napoleon overall, but it's not good. So now let's get into spoilers. Oh, spoiler time. So we got some lines here to discuss. I'm a stickler for dialogue, because dialogue, if you have a bad line, it takes you out of the movie. It could ruin the whole movie. You know, like the Batman. Even people who like that movie, they remember that bad line that Catwoman says about, something about, like, the whole city of white privileged people or something like that. Like, it was a terrible line. And everyone who liked the movie or didn't like the movie criticized that line, basically. Because it sucked. It was bad. It was badly written. So Jenna's character, and oh, by the way, there was this really funny thing that I saw that actually made me want to watch the movie even more. Jenna Ortega and Tommy Lee Jones were at a premiere event for this movie. And it's so funny because, again, like, Jenna in the interviews and in all these like in-person videos, she seems like so much better than what she's like in movies and shows. Like, in movies, she's just like not one of my favorite actors, but then when you see her like doing these interviews and things, she seems like she's really cool. But she was next to Tommy, and he was like, did we act in any scenes together? And she had to tell him that they did. They were in like one scene together. But I don't blame him for forgetting, because the scene that they're in together, she comes in and she doesn't even look at him. I think she passes by him, and then she yells at all the other characters, and then she leaves. So I really don't blame him for not remembering her. But I thought that was pretty interesting. But anyways, she learns that the main character, he got accepted into law school. But the whole thing is that he doesn't want to go to law school. He wants to be a fisherman like his brother, played by Ben Foster. So she's like, are you going to learn to sue people and shit? Okay, so then Ben Foster's character goes to this fishing company guy to confront him about how he hasn't been keeping up the maintenance on the boat, and so they almost died. Their boat got fucked up, and wow, my voice is still doing that, or it's cracking. But anyways, he confronts this guy, and the main character comes in to like calm things down and break up the tension. And he says, you're wasting a good punch. And I thought, hold on. What is a good punch? Does anyone know what a good punch is? A good punch. Like, isn't that like, those two words, good and punch, don't those two words like cancel each other out because they mean opposite things? You know, good is good. A punch is bad. I mean, all he had to do was just say, you're wasting a punch. And then it would be like, okay, he's wasting a punch, but you're wasting a good punch. What is a good punch? What the hell is that? That would be like if you're gonna shoot someone and you told the person you're wasting a good execution. You're wasting a good shooting. Like, what is a good shooting? What is a good punch? That was just. And then there's this other scene which Jenna has this little subplot where which the only thing that I really liked about her character is that her name was Mabel. And they even commented in the movie about how like rare it is that people are named Mabel anymore. And I thought, actually, it's pretty cool to see like a movie with a character named Mabel, because like that's a really nice name. And it fit her as well. But there's this whole part where, like, she gets into this relationship with the main character in, like, 2 seconds after 2 seconds of meeting. I always hate... This movie has some, like, old movie cliches that, like, need to die. And one of them is that, like, you have the main character and you have a girl. Like, just a girl. Like, any girl. Like, they could have put fucking AI Betty Davis in this movie, and the main character would have had to have hooked up with her. They could have put Miley Cyrus in this movie. The main character would have had to have hooked up with her. But it's just so happens that it's Jenna. She is the girl. And and the main guy gets with the girl as soon as they meet, and they have, like, no chemistry for, like, 5 seconds, and then all of a sudden they're in bed together. And it's like, how about they actually, like, take their time and they get into, like, a more natural romance instead of, like, they meet and then they hook up? Like, That's so cliche. Like that was one of the stupidest parts of the movie, the whole romance thing. Not that I don't like romance, because I know that there's this big thing nowadays with like this little group of people in California where they're like, we don't want to see any romance on screen. Romance is awkward and creepy and unnatural, and we don't want to see any nudity. No, that is not who I am at all. If you've seen my channel, no. It's the opposite of that. But it's just, if it's done bad, it needs to be done good. Like, don't do it like in this movie where these characters meet in one scene, and then they meet in another scene, and all of a sudden, they're together. They're together. That's all it takes in the movie world. In real life, it's a little bit different, It takes time, and nothing really happens. And then you get your heart broken, and you move on. I'm just kidding. But there's this part where, like, her mom, like, accuses him of just wanting to hook up with her and leave her. And then they go outside and they're having this little quarrel with each other. And she's like, I'm interested in myself. Like, that's probably one of the funniest lines of the year. Like, Jenna says, I'm interested in myself. Because he says that he's interested in her. And I was like, oh, God, writing. This movie also, like, felt like a beer commercial. Because, like, there are so many times in this movie where the characters are at this bar and they're drinking, and there's a big emphasis on beer and drinking beer. First off, there's a scene where one of the characters in the bar, he reads a beer bottle from far away. And it's like showing the beer bottle, and you can tell that this is like advertising and whatever. And then they had another scene at this party, outdoor party, where the main character is pouring from a keg into a cup for Jenna's character, Mabel. And they're having like a stare-off contest that just made me want to shoot myself in the you-know-what, because like it just was so bad and cringe, and there was no chemistry there at all. And like they kept on staring at each other, and she's like, I'll tell you when to stop pouring. And he just kept on pouring until the beer overflowed and spilled all over her hand. And then she's like, okay, stop. And they stopped. And I was like, oh, God. This is what we're doing in this movie. It's a beer commercial, this movie. This movie is like a 2-hour beer commercial. And then also, probably one of the highlights of the movie is the main character, after he sleeps with Jenna, he's about to give her some lick downs. And all of a sudden he realizes that they're late to go fishing, or he's late. And so they have this hilarious like sequence that I don't know what they were thinking with this sequence, because it is so funny. It is so bad. She drives him to the dock. And when I say she drives him to the dock, she drives him like a woman to the dock. And I'm not saying that women are bad drivers. I'm saying like this felt like the stereotype of like, see, like because she drove so badly. She was driving over curves. She was nearly getting in a wreck with everyone. And it was hilarious. She's just like speeding, and like she's like a maniac driving down like that, and like just speeding. And I was like, holy shit, like she's really driving like a whammon. And yeah, that was probably one of the only good things about the movie. And right before she drops him off, she says, here's another good line. Another line for the long list of great lines in movies nowadays. I was thinking about going to community college. Is that a crazy idea? Community college. Is that crazy? And the crew, this fishing crew too, this is a weird bunch of people because, like, half the movie they're always, like, laughing and they're always, like, acting like they're at a party. They're always just like, they're always, like, smiling at each other like they're in love with each other or something. And there's this one part in the movie where they're all making monkey noises like it's Miracle on 34th Street, and they're like, ooh, 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 ooh. It's like, I was like, ugh. What is even good about this movie? Like, the movie, I was getting so tired of this movie. Like, 30 minutes into the movie, watching this cringeworthy fishing expedition thing going on. They have really strange music, too. Like, music just comes on, and then it just goes. And a lot of the music feels like not very good music, like it's from free music from YouTube. Which, you can get good free music from YouTube. You can also get very, very bad music from YouTube. Very bad music. And they say the word Finestkind over and over and over again, and I still don't understand what it means. They say that for a fisherman, Finestkind can mean anything that you want it to mean. And I don't even know how to respond to that. That still isn't a very good answer to the question, because it's like, really? Because they say Finestkind can mean fuck you, or it can mean something else. Like, it doesn't make any sense at all. And then there's a sad period in the movie. You know, like those movie cliches where, like, you have the sad period where all the characters are sad, and then they play sad music because they're all having a sad time. Like, they had that part in the movie near the end, and I was like, wow, this movie has every bad cliche that it shouldn't have. And finally, when the movie is, like, more than halfway over, they introduce the crime story, which, you know, they kind of advertised the movie as though it was a crime story when it really wasn't. It was like a weird family drama fishing movie and then a little crime at the end. And but it all leads up to Tommy Lee Jones, and he goes to the donut shop where the drug guy is at, and he kills the drug guy and all of his men. And I thought, you know, this one little scene right here of Tommy Lee Jones Breaking Bad, this should have been the whole movie. Like, the whole movie should have just been, like, at the start of the movie, he finds out that his son has gotten into this bad position, and then the whole movie is just him, like, dealing with all these drug guys, killing them, like, negotiating with them, because it's so funny, he looked exactly like Bryan Cranston, like in Your Honor, where he's got this, like, flannel shirt on, and he's got, like, the little beard, and he just looks like he's old, and he's fed up with life and everything. And, like, half the movie, Tommy Lee Jones is just sitting in different environments, like, just, like, watching everything happen, like, it's nice to get a paycheck once in a while, you know, and then he just calmly walks up to people and he's like, hey, what's going on in here in this movie? I want to know what's going on too. But this shooting rampage thing, like, this should have been the whole movie. It was the only good thing in the whole movie besides that driving scene. It was actually a good little action scene. It was awesome too. It was really cool. And then they immediately go back to just being family drama crap, and then they almost end, and then they go back, and because this movie's all about these two brothers and their relationship, and then their relationships with their dads, and so then at the end they have this thing where they make it to where Tommy Lee Jones is being taken to prison, and they make it so that he can see his boat from the van, the police van. And so, like, that's the big ending of the movie, is, like, him getting to see that they got his boat back after they had to do stuff with that, because a lot of stuff happens in this movie because of Ben Foster's character making dipshit decisions. He makes a lot of stupid decisions in this movie, and I really did not like his character very much. And then I'd also like to point out, too, even though they have some, like, make-out scenes, the only nudity in this entire movie is from the main guy mooning Tommy Lee Jones. Yeah, that happens at the end, too. They're all cheering and saying hi to him and, you know, saying, look at us, we have your boat. You know, we're going to be okay, we're going to be fine. And then the main character moons Tommy Lee Jones. And I was like, wow, that's the only nudity in this whole movie. Is you see this guy's ass at the end of the movie is like a joke. And I was like, see, this is exactly what is wrong with movies nowadays. Because this is so fucking retarded. Like, why was that? Like, people say that, like, nude scenes aren't necessary. But then they have something like that at the end of the movie. And, like, I think that we have seen, like, so much male nudity this year that I'm just wondering, like, why is everyone in Hollywood so gay? Like, why is everyone in Hollywood, like, just completely not wanting to showcase, like, the female form, like, the female body? Like, why is it, like, this obsession with, like, showing guys' asses in every single fucking movie and show that we see nowadays? Like, because I don't have a problem with it, I just wonder, like, what's the deal with that? Like, that just sucked, too. And on top of that, the movie ends with the main character saying, "Finestkind, baby." And I was like, yeah, Finestkind, fuck you. Fuck this movie. I'm so glad it's fucking over. I hate everything about this fucking movie except for that fucking shooting rampage, and I'm never watching this fucking movie again. Fucking Finestkind my fucking ass. So, yeah, that's what I have to say about Finestkind. And I'm sorry I didn't go into the plot more. I just didn't feel like it because I just don't care. Like, there's so many plots. First you have the plot about the fishing, about he wants to be a fisherman and what fishing entails and catching scallops and shit like that. And then the movie is all about the girlfriend and how he gets with this girl and she's like a gangster, but she doesn't want to be anymore. She wants to go to community college because it's not about my past, it's where I'm going that counts. That's what we call copium. You know, when people are trying to cope, you know, like cope harder, Mabel. And then they have a story about these two father-son relationships. And you have one who, he wants his son to be a lawyer because he's a lawyer, and he doesn't want him to be a fisherman. And then you have the other father-son relationship where they hate each other, and the dad is dying, and, you know, you've seen all that before a million times, too. And then you have the plot about the crime. And because of stupid shit that Ben Foster did, they set up this little crime deal, this heroin deal, where the main characters will go out and get heroin and bring it to the drug guy, and then it all goes wrong because of a snitch and, you know, whatever that. So it's like you have all these movie plots combined into one, and none of them work. None of them work to make a cohesive story. None of them fit together at all. Maybe this movie would have been better if it was a miniseries, like with Your Honor. If it was something where, like, it just felt like it was naturally going to go that way. Because I really didn't feel like this movie should have turned into a crime movie. Because that's not what it was at all. And then when it became a crime movie, it was no longer a fishing movie. And then there was the stuff with the family stuff, and that was sprinkled in too. And it's like, just show me one thing that's good. So overall, I would recommend staying far away from this movie. Don't just watch it because of Jenna Ortega. I mean, she's hardly in the movie. Her character is one-dimensional and trash. Don't just watch this movie for Tommy Lee Jones, because he's hardly in the movie. He's got his nice little shooting rampage, but that's the only thing that's good. Don't just watch this for the main character, because he's terrible in this movie, and they say that he looks like Justin Bieber, and it's like that's the only thing of note about his character, is that he has a little bit of a resemblance to Justin Bieber, which is a terrible, terrible character trait. I don't know, character quirk. And then don't just watch this for Ben Foster, because his character sucks and he's really unlikable. So yeah, steer clear of this movie. Steer clear. Watch a good movie. If you're gonna pick out a Father's Day movie for next Father's Day, pick out a good movie. Recognize the signs, that when you see these signs, you know that these are red flags and that the movie is not worth checking out. Because nobody should have to suffer through Father's Day movies. Like one year, I think we went to see Dawn of the Planet of the Apes for Father's Day, I think. Maybe. And like that movie is incredible. That was a masterpiece. So that was totally fine. But like, these old people movies like Finestkind, they're just the worst. And I don't even think old people like this movie, because like it's just so bleh. So anyways, please like this video and comment and subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see more honest reviews like this. Maybe I sounded a little bit too mean towards this movie, but it just kept going on and on and on, and I really wasn't interested at all. It moved like molasses, and so that's why I gave it a molasses cake. And then please subscribe to our channel if you'd like to. Oh yeah, I already said that already. Fuck. But please subscribe again. Make another account and subscribe a second time. And then make another account and subscribe a third time. That's a good thing to say. And goodbye, everybody. See you soon.